Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Heather, and today we are going to be reading 5 books that I should have read a long time ago that I haven't gotten to yet. They're all either horror or they are thrillers. So we have 5 books here. I have them all on audio, listen to them on Audible as well as Scribed. And yeah, I just wanted to bring you along on the journey while I read these 5 books. So let's talk about it real quick. First book is a YA horror, and it's The Honeys. This book is about a twin trying to find out what happened to their other twin, and they get tangled up into this mean girl group. It kind of reminded me, like the description kind of reminded me of Bunny a little bit, but I've heard that it is not like Bunny, but that's just the first thing that pops in my brain. So we got this. I also have The Weight of Blood here. This is a Carrie retelling, and I've heard that it dives deep into racism, revenge, how teenagers are little horrible creatures at times, and I'm excited to read it. I've heard nothing but great things about it, and I've heard that the audiobook is fabulous. Then I have one of my most anticipated books of 2023 right here, We Love to Entertain. From what I've heard, this is kind of like a domestic thriller about these 2 people who go missing right after they win their honeymoon. It's supposed to be like an HGTV show where they renovate, but then they win their honey. I don't really know. It's kind of confusing. Like this part doesn't really tell me a lot, but I just know that this chick named Erica is trying to find out what happened to these 2 contestants. So excited. Then I have this book, The Black House, and this is one of my most anticipated books of the year. I think it was this year. It might have been last year. Can you look right quick? It came out early this year. This is a gothic thriller about a remote island in Scotland, and the town has very dark secrets. I love it when it's a whole town is corrupt and dark and there's something going on with the entire town. But I believe that this is like where people go to the actual moved his family. Okay, so somebody moved their family to this house and something's really wrong with it, and the entire town knows what's going on, but they don't. So awesome. And then lastly, a book that I softy enoughed a while ago. I just wasn't feeling it, but I've heard that it is very, very good once you get into it. This is The Last Housewife, and I was listening to the audio, like I said, but I stopped. Wasn't really feeling it all that much, but I think that I'm in a good headspace for it now. It just wasn't my forte when I was reading it before. So this is a book that was on my most anticipated for last year. So those are the books that I'm going to be reading in here. I feel like I'm going to get through them pretty quick since it is audiobooks, and I will let you know which book I start reading first and how I feel about it at the 50% mark. So see you in a little bit. So Charles picked this one for me to read, and I'm 50% into this book. And this book, so the first chapter was insane. I was not expecting that at all. I was not expecting the first chapter to be what it was. But it is a slower horror that's going on. So we have Mars. They are gender fluid, and they are going back to the summer camp where their sister Caroline, I believe her name is Caroline. Yes. Where Caroline spent a lot of her time because Caroline had something like the way that things are going makes me believe that the girls that the group of girls that she was a part of has something to do with it. Oh, look at my shirt matching my, okay. I am all over the place today, y'all. So okay. Mars is going to the summer camp where his sister spent a lot of her time. There is a group of girls called the Honeys, and at Caroline's funeral, they did something weird to her body that included bees, and Mars saw that. So Mars is really wanting to go to see what happened to their sister. And when they get there, they're put into the boys group because they look like a boy, but like I said, they're gender fluid. So there's a lot of talk about representation in here as well, which I do appreciate. I enjoy Mars' sense of humor. They're very dry, sarcastic, and I have been giggling a lot in this book. They just have one of those sense of humors that I connect with a lot. The camp that they are at is said to be very inclusive, but you can tell that some of the people that are there are not. So Mars is having to navigate their time and try to figure out who they can trust and who they can't trust and who they fit in with and who they don't fit in with. And the girls that Caroline were a part of remind me a lot of Mean Girls. And this book has reminded me a lot of Bunny, which I said at the very beginning that it reminded me, like just the description reminded me of it. So if you liked Bunny, you might like this. Or if you were wanting to read Bunny, but you believed that like a YA version of that book would be better for you, this book probably. I just get Bunny vibes going on, but I don't know yet. I don't know. There's some surrealism in here as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on in here, but it's really Mars trying to navigate through this whole experience and try to fit in somewhere, because they've never really fit in, and Caroline was the only person that they could talk to where they felt like they were accepted. So they were also twins, so there's that twin aspect too, but the horror in here is subtle as of right now, but I feel like it's about to ramp up, so we shall see. But summer camp setting, boys and girls setting, mean girls, mean boys, some hazing is going on as well, and some weird stuff with bees that hasn't really been explained yet. There's my update. I finished this book and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. It was a wild ride, but the ending of this book kind of got jumbled a little bit. There were some things that were left unanswered, which you know I don't like personally. This is a personal preference. I like for everything to be neatly wrapped in a little bow for me, because I don't like to think about what's going to happen to the characters. I want to know what happened to them, you know? But with that being said, I enjoyed all of the conversations in here about representation. I enjoyed all of the conversations about family and how a family can look functional on the outside, but on the, like, behind closed doors, it's not functional whatsoever. There's something that happens at the end of this book where the parents of Mars and Caroline show their true colors, and it was kind of it was a good twist. It was a good twist for me, and I was kind of taken back a little bit. I honestly believe even if you were an adult, if you were a young adult coming into horror, this is a really good pick for you. I think anybody can enjoy this. You're going to connect with at least one character in this book, I believe. And like I said before, Mars and their sense of humor and just the way that they presented themselves, held themselves, took up for themselves. I really enjoyed that aspect of this book. There is a lot of found family in here as well. There's a good friendship group, and the overall message behind this book was good. And I really hope that this author will continue writing, because I really want to read their writing again. I think they have a backlist, but I'm not really sure. But anyways, I would recommend this book to you, especially if you're looking for a darker YA horror book that has a little bit of speculative magic in there as well, that has, like I said, found family aspects, a good friend group, morally gray characters. I think you would enjoy this. I think you should pick this up. I'm going to change gears a little bit, and I'm going to go into a thriller. I'm going to pick this one up. This is called The Black House, and this is about a secluded island, remote village, deadly secret. The village has secrets. The family moves into this house that's in the middle of nowhere. That kind of vibe. So I'm excited to get into this. I have the audiobook for this as well. So I'm going to start this today, and I will update you when I am 50% into this. Finally updating you on this video. I'm a little over 50% of this book, and this book is a really slow book, like very, very slow. It's about Maggie. She moves back to this Scottish island. It's a remote village in the middle of nowhere, obviously, because it's remote. That's yeah. Anyways, and when she was younger, she was convinced that she was reincarnated, and the person that she was reincarnated by was a guy named Robert that used to live on this island. So now she is coming back to the island as an adult, wanting to write a book about this particular house called the Black House. But there is some like funky stuff going on this island. There is like an excavation, is that how you say it? Excavation, where they like dig stuff up. Anyways, there's one of those things going on at the island where they're trying to find like old artifacts and stuff like that they have in the past. Evidently something about that dig caused something to start stirring up on the island. Robert, the dude that she thinks that she is reincarnated by, actually lived on the island a long time ago. Something happened to him and his wife, and now Maggie is just trying to like navigate the world. We did find out that she is bipolar, and her mom was also considered a psychic, but they both had some, they went undiagnosed for a while, and Maggie found out that she was bipolar when she was older. So she thinks that that might have something to do with the way that she grew up. Her mom also had some mental illness going on as well, supposedly, but there's just a lot of uncertainty, I can't say that word, uncertainty going on right now in this book. It's very slow. The atmosphere is absolutely wonderful. It's dark, it's dreary. There's just, I don't know, like, it's just one of those books, like, it's just like, wrap me up in a blanket, let me read this on a rainy, cold night, even though it's summertime. But it's one of those books. There's just not a lot going on right now. I don't know where this story is going, and it's kind of, it flops back and forth between Maggie and Robert, and well, I do know this, there are some people on this island that are sketchy, like real sketchy. They know something. They just don't want to tell Maggie because she's an outsider, like a lot of people, or a lot of stories, you know. They don't trust outsiders. They don't want people to know about their history. They want to keep their own lives secret, or their, you know, they want to keep all their secrets. And she wants to basically obliterate all their secrets, and they don't want that. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't have a lot of thoughts besides the 3 minutes that I just talked to you about. But there's that. There's the update. The audiobook is really good though. I like all the accents. So. As I eat my wontons. Oh, on my lunch break. So I'll tell you right now, this book put me in a really bad reading slump. I haven't been able to read anything since about July 16th when I finished this book. Nothing else is stuck. I can't get into anything else, even audiobooks, because of this one right here. I gave this book 2 stars. I did not enjoy this book whatsoever. The only thing that I really enjoyed about this book was the atmosphere. Small town, dark, island that's isolated from the world. Everyone has their own little secrets, but the entire premise of this book is that Maggie, who is our main character, believes that she is reincarnated by this guy that used to live on the island, and it was just one of those books where I did not click with anybody. I didn't care what was going on in the book whatsoever, and for me, I really have to like characters, or at least like be super interested in the book to actually like it, or you know. But yeah, the only thing that I really liked about this book was the atmosphere of it. Everything else was very boring. It was very dry. This is more of a literary thriller than it is like a straight up suspense thriller or crime thriller or anything like that. It's literary thriller, and it's very slow. It's written very beautifully, but it's very, very slow, and nothing really happens in here. And no, wasn't my cup of tea, y'all. was not my cup of tea, and I just have not been able to read anything else since. So, we shall see. I have more books that's all I'm going to say about this. Whatever. It's going in my unhaul pile. Like, it will go there after I update this. I have these 2 books right now that I can read. The Way to Blood, which I've heard really good things about, or We Love to Entertain, which I haven't heard that great things, but it sounds like it would be something that I would enjoy. So we have these 2 books, and I will update you when I pick one of these books. And obviously I have the audiobooks for all of these, so let's get to it. Hopefully. Crossing my fingers. I forgot about this one. I also have this one. The Last Housewife, so we'll see. We'll see which one of these 3 books you get updated on next. Woo, y'all. This book right here, this is it. Oh, this is a good book. This is a really good book. I am enjoying it so much so far. I'm halfway through it. I started it last night. And like, Tiffany D. Jackson just has this way of writing, and I love her writing. I love all the characters that she creates. I love the environment that she creates. You really feel for these characters. Well, some of them you just want to throat punch, like Jules. Jules is a oof. This book is set in 2014 when Maddie's life is happening in high school, and then you get flashbacks to 2014, and then you get present time, and there is a podcast going on about Maddie's story, trying to figure out what really happened, because if you don't know, in Carrie she has telekinesis, and we see Maddie having a form of telekinesis as well. I'm thoroughly enjoying seeing how Tiffany D. Jackson has decided to retell Carrie, and I think she's doing an exceptional job so far. So, halfway through this book. Obviously this is going to be a high rating. I can already tell that this is going to be a high rating. I don't know why it's taken me so long to read this book, but I'm so glad that I finally picked it up, because it's great. So that's my update. Here to update you. Finished this book, ended up giving it 5 stars. I thought this book was really good. It takes a deep dive into bullying, racism, high school life, what people are capable of, even when they don't realize, quote unquote, realize what they're doing to other people. They do realize that they just don't care. It also takes a deep dive into emotional and physical abuse when it comes to parents and children, and how everyone has a breaking point. I thought that this book did a beautiful job of showcasing how people's mental health and how people's physical health and how people's environments make them react to certain things, and how it's just really hard to keep all of that stuff in, especially when you don't have an outlet. And yeah, I felt for Maddie a lot, and the way that she was treated is not right, and the way that the people in town were just so close-minded to what was going on was not right, and how her father treated her throughout the entire story was just wrong. That was very hard to read for me, but how like, Maddie just didn't have a fighting chance throughout this entire thing. But the ending, even though it was open-ended, I was really glad that it was open-ended the way that it was. I just want Maddie to be happy, and I do think that she was able to find happiness after everything that happened. But going back to the whole high school thing, Maddie's been going to school with these people for forever. It's a really small town, and Maddie has had to endure being bullied because she was the weird kid. She was the kid that always wore the same clothes. She came from a poor family while everyone else had money and all that kind of stuff. And you already know that that plays a factor into how people treat other people when they're younger and when they're older. I don't understand. I've never understood that. But anyways, and her classmates also found out that she was black after it rained one day and her hair got wet, and it started to become her natural hair. She always wore her hair straight, and her natural hair came out when it got wet. And that's when they realized that she was black. She'd been presenting herself as white, but that was not her doing. It was someone else's doing, because she had been forced to say that she was white her entire life. And then when people found out she was black, that just made it even worse. And then the bullying continued to start, or continued, not to continue to start, but it just continued, and it just went on and on and on, and people swept it under the rug. There's a few characters in here, Jules being the main one. I wanted to throat punch her the entire freaking book because she's just a horrible person. And those are the type of people that that just let racism continue for no reason, and she didn't do anything wrong whatsoever. And I can't stand those type of people or those type of characters. And even though I didn't get the ending that I wanted with Jules, she did get what she deserved in the end. Then we also have Wendy, who is Jules's best friend, but Wendy has a little secret. She doesn't come from money, but she also presents herself as this like very eager person to help everyone, but you find out that she's just doing it for herself really. And she's also dating a guy named Kenny, who is a superstar football player. He's going to Alabama, he's black, so she is latching on to him to try to get out of town. And it's just, like I said, this is like a huge character deep dive, and you get to see the character development. All of these characters are super three-dimensional. Tiffany D. Jackson did a fabulous job with writing them and making you feel things for them. And just by the end of it, I was tired, but it was a good tired. And I was just like, I just want Maddie to be happy. Like, I just want her to be happy, because she had to deal with a lot of crap throughout this book for no freaking reason, just because people are freaking mean, you know? And I hate that for her. But I honestly believe that this is better. This book is better than the original Carrie. Not to compare or anything like that, but I enjoyed this one so much more than I enjoyed the actual Carrie. So 5 stars. If you haven't read it yet, read all the trigger warnings before you get into it. There is, I forgot to mention this, there is police brutality in here as well. So make sure that you know all of the triggers going into this book. But highly recommend it. I think you need to read it. It's very, very good. Long-winded explanation. So now we're moving into this book. This is taking a turn. This is a mystery thriller. It's called We Love to Entertain, and this is about a home fixer-upper show competition where these people are trying to win a competition, and their names are Robert and Holly, and then Robert has an assistant named Erica, and then we're following Erica, and Kim is Erica's mom, and Erica is the assistant to Robert and Holly during this fixer-upper show and in general anyways. And they go missing, so they're trying to figure out what happened to them. Nobody's heard from them after their wedding, and they're just going through the motions of trying to figure out what happened to them. Erica is a little bit obsessed with Robert. It's kind of weird. Erica gets on my nerves a little bit. Kim, she's just... These characters are just weird. Like, this book is weird. Like, it's very odd. It's interesting. It's keeping me intrigued, but it's just odd. And I don't know where it's gonna go, honestly, because it's just one of those books that I'm like, I don't know where I see this going at all. But it doesn't have very good reviews as of right now, and I can tell why, because it is a slower book, and it does have a lot of like home improvement talk in it, but I enjoy home improvement talk. I like that kind of stuff. I like seeing like the whole design behind their house and everything. But I don't understand why those chapters are put in here, because it doesn't really match with the book, but whatever. Anyways, wanted to tell you, forgot the audiobook, that's what this whole video is about. This audiobook right here is freaking excellent. It's great. Read it. Well, listen to it, but read it, you know. Awesome. Okay. 10 minutes in. Yep, go read these books. Hello. So I finished this, and I'm giving it 3.75 stars. It was a little slow, and like I said before, it's about this couple who is in a competition for a fixer-upper, and they're trying to win the competition. And their assistant Erica is trying to help them and all that kind of stuff, and they end up going missing. So Erica and her mom, Erica specifically is trying to figure out what happened to her bosses. Where Kim, she works at for the city, and she does, like, I don't really understand what her job was, but I guess it's going around and appraising houses and property taxes and stuff like that. So she's a part of that. So she has some insight on what's going on with the property, plus what has happened with the property in the past. This guy named Zeke, he actually, the house that this couple is working on and is fixing up, he actually owned, and they bought it out from under him because he owed taxes. So that's what started this whole thing. And after Robert and Holly go missing, like I said, Erica, she is having to take over their role during the whole process of being on this show. And from there on, the mystery happens, and it's just this mom and daughter living their life trying to figure out what this mystery is. And something happens to Erica, and it was very dramatic, and it was slower, and it had a lot of home improvement talks, which I don't think a lot of people like, which is why I think this book is getting lower ratings, because it is a little slow and it does have a lot of that stuff in it. But at the end, it all comes together, and I wasn't expecting the ending, and I thought that it was decent. Like, it wasn't horrible. It's not the most horrible mystery thriller that I've read. I would say it's more of a mystery book than a thriller, but it's not a bad book by any means. So if you're interested, pick it up. Last but not least for this video is reading The Last Housewife. Now, here's the thing. I've already tried to read this book once by listening to it. Didn't read it and listen to it at the same time, which was my mistake. So this time I'm not going to make that mistake, and I'm going to listen to it and read it at the same time. Who would have thought? But all I know is this is basically about a cult. I don't remember a lot about this book, so I'm going to start from the very beginning. And there's like a podcast in there. There's a cult in there. That's all I really know, and that's all I want to know. There's somebody outside my house. But that's all I really want to know. So, here to update you, I am well over halfway in this book. I did not realize that I was over halfway in this book because I'm listening to it while I work, and, you know, I'm just listening. And I am sideways. Sorry. That didn't really help. Anyways, halfway through this, I am enjoying it a lot more than I did the first time that I read it. I just don't think that I was in the right headspace the first time that I tried to read it. But this is about a girl. What is her name? It's literally Shay. Literally been listening to it, and I'm not good with names, okay? But Shay and her friend, or her childhood friend Jamie, one of their friends from college, ended up dying, and they're trying to figure out what happened to her. The police are saying that their friend killed herself, but they know her to the point where they are investigating her death, and they are going into a very deep world of cultism, like a sex cult, and they're trying to figure out where she ended up and why she was there and what she was trying to find. And then we find out about Shay's past as well through a podcast that that Jamie is interviewing her for, because Jamie is the one who brought up Laurel's case, and they are working together to try to figure out what happened to her. But throughout it, we're figuring out Shay's dark past. We also figure out that Shay and Laurel's best friend Clementine from college died in the same mysterious way as Laurel did, and they were all in this cult together in college, and it is reflecting, Laurel's case is reflecting a lot of what Clementine went through and what Shay went through, and how, and they're just trying to figure out what happened to their friend. But throughout this whole book, there is a lot. It's a lot. This is not a light book whatsoever. This has got some really dark themes in it. I do appreciate at the very beginning of this book, there is a whole page that states content warnings. So content warnings are up here for you. If you decide that you want to read this book, look into the content warnings because they go very heavy, very deep. There is, there's all these. Some of these words I can't say on here because I don't want, not like, you know, I'm a big channel or anything, but I don't want to get flagged for those. But there's a lot in here, and this is a dark story. It's very dark. I figured that it would be dark just because of all the things that I've heard about this book, but it's very interesting as well. If you are a true crime person, I think you would really like this book because of the podcast aspect of it, plus of the investigation that Shay and Jamie are going through. Shay is throwing herself into this really dark world to try to figure out what happened to Laurel, and it's bringing back a lot of things in her past. And she's finally getting to actually talk about it, and Jamie is helping her through that by giving her a voice and giving her a platform to speak out on what happened to her in her past. But yeah, I'm flying through this book. It's a really good audiobook as well. And I think that this is going to be a pretty high rating. Pretty high. That's my update. I'll let you know when I finish it and how I truly feel about it by the end. I ended up finishing this book and I'm giving it a 4.25. It wasn't a perfect 5 because just some of the loose ends with Shay's past, or Shay's like present with her husband and everything like that, it just ended really quickly, and I wanted a little bit more of a wrap up with that whole relationship because they were married, and then what happened and it was just kind of like a shell shock, like, well, okay, so that just happened. I also wanted a little bit more clarification about the twist that was in here, because it didn't give us a lot of information about that. It just kind of happened as well, and it was just like, whoa. It's kind of like another shell shock, you know, but without any kind of explanation as to what really happened with Clementine. We know what happened with Clementine, but why did it happen with Clementine, you know? So there was just some questions in here. I will say that this book takes a really deep dive into us psychologically as to why people join like cults and join secret societies and join these kind of clubs. I'm going to say cults, okay? Join these kind of groups and what fascinates them and what draws them into it, because it really was fascinating just in a psychological sense to see how somebody, especially how like grooming works, because it does talk about that in here too, and how easily sucked in people get into these types of rings. So I appreciated that aspect of this book just from a psychological standpoint. The thrilling aspect, it was thrilling. There were a lot of things that happened. Sorry, I needed a drink. My throat is dry. There were a lot of things that happened. Jamie and Shay made a really good team when they were trying to figure out everything. Shay put her life on the line a lot to figure out what happened to her friend Laurel. And she just did a lot of things that I don't know. She just did a lot of things that were, wouldn't say noble, but she went out on a limb to figure out what happened to her friend, and she put herself into some really horrible situations that could have gotten her killed, that almost did get her killed a couple of times, and that almost sucked her back into this life. I did appreciate the deep dive that we had back into her past life, when it came to Clementine and when it came to Laurel. I really did appreciate that and where she ended up and how, again, she got out, but I wanted to know more about that. So there were just some holes that I needed filled, you know, but it all wrapped up into a pretty little bow, and the podcast aspect of this was really enlightening. It kind of put some, you know, chopped it up a little bit so it wasn't so intense, because this book is really intense and they happened at the right times. And like I said, the podcast gave Shay a way to tell her story with someone that she really trusted, with Jamie, and yeah, I liked their dynamic a lot too. So highly recommend this book if you're interested in it. This was my first Ashley Winstead. I have In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, which I've heard is even better. So I'm really excited to get into that. But let's talk about the overall, like all of the books overall by the rating that I gave them. So starting from highest rated to lowest rated, The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson was a 5. Glass Housewife by Ashley Winstead was a 4.25. The Honeys was a 4. We Love to Entertain was a 3.75. And then The Black House by Carol Johnstone was a 2. So overall, this book, like this vlog, was a success for me. I found really just like these three, like the top 3 authors I really want to read from again. Obviously Tiffany Jackson's like up there, but Ashley Winstead, super excited to get into her book. I'm really excited to look into more of Ryan LaSala's books as well. So I might give these 2 authors another try. Carol Johnstone does have another book that I'm really interested in. I haven't heard of Sarah Stromayer before, so I'll look into that as well. But highly recommend these books if you are wanting to read them. And yeah, this is the end of this reading vlog. Hope that you enjoyed it. Honestly, all of these audiobooks are excellent, top tier. If you're interested in picking any of these up, I highly recommend them. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!